Hello, and welcome to the Adventures with Grandma Bonnie. Today, I'd like to share with you a true story of an adventure that my niece and I experienced when I lived up in the High Sierra Mountains. I hope you love it, and it was scary, and we did have to be rescued. Please watch the whole show and give it a big thumbs up. And please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single thing. Leave a comment if you like. Oh, I would love to hear from you. Here we go. Get ready for excitement. It was a breathtaking spring morning in the eastern Sierra Nevada mountains. The bright blue sky lit up the valley as the sun rose higher, lighting up the peaks of the mountaintops. My 14-year-old niece, Debbie, who was visiting for a few days, slept in that morning. I don't blame her. Ray was traveling for work and the solitude was appreciated. After one cup of coffee, I decided to start my day. It was still very cold, and I thought it would be a good morning to warm up the kitchen and bake some cookies. I plan to donate 6 dozen home-baked cookies to our local volunteer fire department. They were having a fundraiser the following weekend, and the cookies would be popular. When you live in a rural area, you depend on the community members who volunteer to help whenever needed, and our volunteer firefighters were amazing. The smell from the hot baked cookies wafted through the house, and soon Debbie, rubbing the sleep from her eyes and her slippers still on, shuffled into the kitchen. "Something smells really good, Aunt Bonnie." She was cute. I was so happy to see her, since she was always eager to help in the kitchen or do hard yard work outside. She quickly went back to her room and changed her clothes. She came back to the kitchen and started sheeting cookies. I made several batches of cookie dough, and together we had them all done in no time at all. Since it was such a beautiful day with not a cloud in the sky, we decided to pack up a picnic lunch and go on an adventure. Adventure with Grandma Bonnie. Our plan was to drive our John Deere Gator up north on Eastside Lane. I know some of you know what a John Deere tractor is. The Gator's sort of like a tractor, but not quite. It's more like a golf cart. Anyway, this part of Eastside Lane is not maintained by any county or state agency. As a matter of fact, in some places it's barely a road at all. Most who have traveled it have turned around at one point. The jagged rocks and huge boulders are formidable, to say the least. Unless you like to change your tires often and love to drive through huge washouts and dangerous drop-offs. Let me tell you, that can be scary. You pretty much avoided this route. Our trip would be exciting for sure, but we felt confident knowing we had the John Deere Gator to get us around or through most any obstacles. The Gator had big, gnarly tires. It was pretty cool. As we navigated the road of no return, that's what I like to call it, we continued north towards Hoy Canyon. We're talking maybe 8 or 9 miles. The Walker River ran through the chiseled rock formations in the canyon and eventually came out into beautiful Smith Valley. Just the day before, we had a strong windstorm that brought heavy downpours into the area. We looked forward to the ride with homemade tuna sandwiches, a bag of chips, a few bottles of water, and of course some freshly baked cookies packed safely in a cooler bag. It promised to be warm that day, but we did take a jacket, extra gas, and a shovel just in case. Oh my! You never know when you might have to dig your way out of a tough spot. The Boy Scouts motto is be prepared, but as a young girl I was only a brownie. But I was still being prepared. It must have been about 11 in the morning, and the weather was holding its breath. You know when you feel like something's going to happen and you're not quite sure, you walk outside and it's just still as can be? That's what it felt like. As I glanced over the mountaintops, I saw what appeared to be a few white clouds cresting over the peaks. This was not expected on such a glorious day. Where were those clouds coming from? As it usually indicated a change in the weather. Oh no, what did that mean? Ooh. Our ride was as bumpy as ever, and we traversed over the rough road. We passed a few small ranches along the way, and then all signs of civilization disappeared as we started our journey into the canyon. The sky began to turn dark and the wind picked up. We're talking dark, like get the flashlight out. Once we reached the river and in the protected cover of the canyon, I felt safer. Certainly, I would think that. The sky was getting darker and filled with black, ominous clouds. Suddenly, a flash of lightning filled the sky. Followed by a loud crack of thunder. Uh-oh, oh no, I murmured. Not too quiet either. And Debbie looked at me with a frightened look in her eyes. The storm came roaring down on us, and heavy rain started to fall. Oh, it was so frightening. Lightning strikes were frequent, and the wind was intense. Maybe the canyon wasn't as safe as I first thought. I calmly told Debbie that we would have to get out of there and have our picnic another day. As we were hightailing it out of there, it started to hail. Debbie had recently gotten a sunburn, and as the hail hit her, it left big welts on her sunburned skin. I felt so bad and responsible for her. I needed to get her to a safe place. Debbie screamed, "Aunt Bonnie, I don't want to die!" My heart just sank. The wind was howling as the rain and hail got worse. It was just darting all around us. When we finally reached the top of the canyon, our plan was to get to the safety of the nearest ranch house, so we started back across the ridge. Lightning strikes continued as we drove as fast as we could. We avoided the deep ruts caused by the heavy runoff from the storm. I could barely see the lake off to the west as rain inundated the whole valley. I knew there was safety not far away if only we could get there in one piece. When we finally reached the driveway of the old ranch house, it was almost impossible to navigate. The deep ruts caused by the water flow destroyed any indication there was a driveway at all. My biggest concern was to be hit by lightning as we tried to reach the house. I remember telling Debbie that she should jump out of the gator if we were hit. With no top, we had no protection from the elements. No protection at all. It must have been just a few hundred yards to the safety of the small house. There was hope. There was hope. With a few close calls, we avoided getting stuck in the deep muddy ruts again and finally made it to the back of the house. My heart sank as I realized that the familiar yellow truck that was always parked there wasn't there. Uh-oh. The owners were not home. The lightning was intense and persistent as we ran up to the back porch, trying in vain to see if someone might be home. We could hear their two dogs barking inside and scratching at the door. They must have been as frightened as we were. Perhaps their owners couldn't get home because of the storm. Maybe they were stuck someplace. Ooh. We thought about trying to break a window to get in, knowing there could be safety in the house, but worried about the dogs. After all, they were just doing their job, protecting their house. It had been about 2 hours since the storm started, and we were cold and shivering violently. Just couldn't stop. Debbie was a small girl, and I worried about her getting hypothermia. She had no extra fat to help keep her warm. I've always had plenty of extra fat to share, and I tried to keep her cuddled next to me. I just put my arms around her, and she just put her arms around me, and we just stood there shivering. I later realized I obviously had hypothermia. As we stood on the steps of the back porch, I felt so responsible for her and tried to calm her down. But she couldn't help but be frightened, nor could I. She was a brave girl, though, let me tell you. She really was. I'm proud of her. Hypothermia causes confusion, and I wasn't even thinking straight as we stood there and the rain came pouring down. Lightning striking all over and wind blowing fiercely. My cell phone had a weak signal, but I was shaking so bad I couldn't get it to work. I just couldn't focus. It was the weirdest thing. I tried again, scrolling through my contacts for the number of the local post office, which was about 10 miles across the valley. Thankfully, my friend Sue, the postmaster, answered, and I told her of our predicament and where we were. She said she would immediately call the fire department. While we waited for help to arrive, I continued to scroll through my contact list. Then I looked out across the sagebrush and realized that I could see another house off in the distance. I knew if I could call them, they had a tractor, and they might be able to help us. Just then, I saw huge bright lights and heard a siren off in the distance. They were traveling towards us. It had to be something big, not just a big four-wheel drive, but a huge truck. Was rescue on its way? Sure enough, we were so excited as we saw it turn up to the now totally washed out driveway and slowly make its way towards us. As the big green Forest Service brush truck came to a stop, Debbie jumped for joy and off the porch into the arms of our rescuers. Realizing that we were in some degree of hypothermia, the Rangers took off their heavy jackets and covered us immediately. I had stopped shivering, which is not always a good thing when you have been cold for so long. What a relief getting that heavy firefighter's jacket covering me and helping me get into the truck. They literally had to push me. It was so high off the ground that a stepladder would have been helpful. The heater from the truck was like a blast from a furnace. It was slow getting home, and we were grateful for the rescue and care that these lifesavers gave us. Before they drove away, I ran into the house and grabbed a few bags of fresh baked cookies for them to share with their fellow crew members back at the fire station. We later learned that the storm was so violent that boaters had to be rescued off Topaz Lake, and many other incidences of rescue in the area. It was determined that both Debbie and I suffered mild hypothermia after being exposed to such extreme cold, wet weather. Debbie took a nice hot bubble bath and had 2 mugs of hot cocoa. We settled down for the evening, feeling tired, yet inspired by the kindness of others along the way. Next time we go on an adventure, we'll rent a big brush truck. You're welcome to come along. Be sure and bring an extra jacket. And if somebody has made some cookies, you can bring those too. We always like cookies. Thanks for watching today. I really enjoyed sharing this story. It was fun thinking back upon it and exciting, but I would not want to do it again. Please share my stories with all your friends and come visit me soon and have a great day. Remember, thumbs up, like, and have a great time. Bye-bye.